So Jeff sent us another video, and it's a real spanker, I'm telling you. This lady saved a trainload of people from a bridge that was going to go down, or went down. You watch the story. It reminds me of the Tay Bridge disaster. We had a very similar bridge get blown out in the storm over here, but sadly there was nobody to cross the bridge and warn the train. This is what happened. The Tay Bridge disaster occurred during a violent storm on Sunday, the 28th of December in 1879. As the bridge collapsed, a North British Railway passenger train on the Edinburgh to Aberdeen line, bound for its final destination of Dundee, passed over it and fell to the river below, killing all aboard. The bridge, designed by Sir Thomas Bouch, used lattice girders supported by iron piers with cast iron columns and wrought iron cross bracing. Bouch died less than a year after the disaster, his reputation ruined. Future British bridge designs had to allow for wind loadings of up to £56 per square foot. In 1883, work commenced on the replacement bridge, and it was opened in 1887 with a span of 2.75 miles. The supports for the original bridge are still visible alongside the new one. A poignant reminder of what happens when there isn't a heroic girl there to save the day. So let's go across and hear Jeff's story.
Hello everyone, it's Jeff again, and I am in the center of Iowa today, right outside of Des Moines, and I would like to tell you the story of two bridges. These two bridges across the Des Moines River in Boone County. But first, I had better start here with this 15-year-old girl, Catherine Shelly. Catherine lived near a bridge that crossed Honey Creek, this bridge, in a very small cabin. Her father, Michael, was foreman of a section crew building and repairing tracks for the Chicago and Northwestern Railway. Michael worked out of a small train station in an unincorporated area called Moingona. On the afternoon of July 6, 1881, a heavy thunderstorm caused a flash flood of Honey Creek, washing out the timbers that supported the railroad bridge. A pusher locomotive was sent from Moingona to check track conditions, but it plunged into Honey Creek when the bridge fell away at 11 p.m. The pusher locomotive had a crew of 4, Edgar Wood, A.P. Olmsted, Adam Agar, and Patrick Donahue. Kate heard the crash of the bridge at about 11 p.m., and her father, being away at work, knew that there was a passenger train due to cross at 12 p.m. Clothed only in her nightgown, she raced out into the night and quickly found Wood and Agar clinging to the remnants of the bridge in the middle of Honey Creek. She shouted to the men that she was going for help, and with only the lightning for illumination, she crossed the massive bridge across the Des Moines River. The bridge had been built without a pedestrian walkway, and the ties had been placed apart to discourage pedestrians from crossing the bridge. But with the passenger train barreling toward the bridge, she had no choice but to cross the bridge on her hands and knees. On the other side of the bridge, she still had almost 2 miles to run to make it to Moingona, where she could alert them that the bridge had been washed out and get help for the 2 men that were still stranded in the creek. The train was stopped in Scranton, a depot not far from the bridge, and all 200 people aboard the speeding train was safe. She led a rescue party back for Wood and Agar. Wood was pulled to safety with a rope. Agar could not be rescued until the water began to recede. Pat Donahue's body was found in a cornfield a quarter of a mile away. But A.P. Olmsted was never found. With the train safely stopped, all 200 passengers began to take stock in the fact that they were saved by a 15-year-old girl who was willing to risk her own life to save them. A hat was quickly passed among the passengers, and all of the money collected was given to Kate to help care for her mother. Her mother had been ill for several years before the bridge collapse, and they desperately needed the money for food. The state of Iowa commissioned a medal to be made for young Kate by none other than Tiffany's of New York. The Order of Railway Conductors gave her a gold watch and chain with this fob. The railroad, from their imposing office in Chicago, gave young Kate a half a barrel of flour, $100, and a lifetime pass to ride their trains free. In 1890, the Chicago Tribune ran a story in their newspaper that Kate and her father and her invalid mother were being thrown out of their tiny house along the railroad tracks because of an unpaid $500 mortgage. The American Furniture Company, pictured here, had already commissioned a group from Armenia to come in and weave a rug in their showroom for onlookers to watch. And they decided that they would auction the rug off and give the proceeds to Kate to pay off the mortgage. In 1896, Kate applied to work as a janitor in the Iowa State Capitol. She worked there until 1909, and not much was heard from her. It was in the year 1909 that her mother died. In 1910, the railroad offered her a job working at the station in Boone, Iowa, but by then her health had begun to decline. In June of 1911, she had her appendix removed. After a month's stay in the hospital, she returned home. A newspaper article from September was quoted as having said that she was a little bit better, but she finally died the 12th of January, 1912. The original bridge that Kate crossed that night on her hands and knees was replaced in 1901, and that's the bridge that you see now unused. It was known as the Boone Viaduct. And the bridge that replaced it, that was built between 2006 and 2009, is now known as the Kate Shelley High Bridge. In 1955, the railroad named a brand new Streamliner passenger train after Kate Shelley. They called it the Kate Shelley 400. It ran faithfully until August of 1971, when it was retired. Her modest grave is now long forgotten in an Iowa cemetery. I leave you now back at Kate's humble cabin along the railroad tracks near the Honey Creek Bridge. Remember, everyone, think good thoughts, do good deeds, and I will see you on the next adventure.